Oh, hello there. My name is Mr. Radom, and I will be your math teacher for your online math course. And I look forward to working with you. So I'll just make this little video here and walk you through the resources that you have online and how you can access help and just in general do a good job on your online course. So this is our course website where you'll find all of our resources. The website is sd42onlinemath.yolasite.com. So you'll want to bookmark that page, and you are taking Calculus 12. So let's click on this link, and it's a password protected page. So the login is capital SD42 and the password is lowercase maths. So M-A-T-H, math, all lowercase. And when you submit that, it will take you to this page. So I'll just go through some of the links here that'll help you work through your course. Over here, you'll have your teacher contact information. So currently the teacher for this course is Mr. Jeff Radom, and here's his email address. And you can email anytime if you have any questions. Or you want to set up a private help session in Zoom. And this would be the link here for the Zoom help room. And obviously, if you click there, there'll be nobody in the Zoom help room. You'd have to make an appointment to do that. But feel free to email anytime, even on weekends. We're not always available on the weekends, but we'll endeavor to answer your email as quickly as possible, including weekends. If we have time and are around to do that. The first link here, frequently asked questions. So we've just made a list of answers to questions that we get. I'm not going to go through and read all these now with you, but we'd encourage you to look at all the answers to those questions because they may be questions that you would have as well. The next link here is the course outline. So these are all the topics that you have in the course. So there's 20 learning guides that make up a course. A lot of the learning guides are paired together just because there's not 20 topics, but there are 20 learning guides that make up a course. So learning guide 1 is on pre-calculus, just to review. We'll talk about that in a sec. And then learning guide 2, 3, we get into the actual calculus piece, which is limits and continuity. Then you'll see there's a unit test. So these little assessment quizzes, they're quizzes that you will mark yourself. I'll go over that in a second, but they're not for marks. They're actually just some feedback that you can get. It's very important that you get some feedback before you do the unit test. Okay, so in this first unit, there'll be a little assessment quiz once you've finished your work in pre-calculus. And there'll be a little assessment quiz after you've finished your work on limits and continuity. And then we've got the Unit 1 test. And this is the test that will count for marks. And it'll be on the material that you've learned in that unit. Okay, and just in that unit. And if this test doesn't go very well, you can always redo it if you want to improve your mark. And then move on to the next unit on derivatives and exponential and log functions. Again, some assessment quizzes to get some feedback before you do the unit test, which will just be on this unit. And so on. We have Unit 3, and there's a Unit 4, and then there's a course final exam. And the course final exam will be on all the material on the course. It's a mandatory final exam, and this exam will count for 25% of your course mark. And the unit tests will be made up of the other 75% of your marks. So each unit test would be 75 divided by 4, which is a little bit less than 20%. So the final exam is actually not worth that much more than the regular unit tests. Okay, this is your textbook here. And in the textbooks, we have some worked out solutions. And then there's Chapter 1 in the textbook, Chapter 2. Here's all your chapters in the textbook. I'm just going to leave that open for now. go to the learning guides. So the learning guides are all of your assignments. So if we click on here, you will see that these are all the learning guides, just like in the course outline. Here's Learning Guide 1, here's Learning Guide 2, 3, here's Learning Guide 4. This will be the Unit 1. So we're going to start with Learning Guide 1. Okay, so here's a typical learning guide. Again, it's going to have all our assignments in it. So a little introduction. Then there'll be the expectations. These are the things that you're going to learn how to do. So at the end of the learning guide, you should be able to do these things. Evaluation will be Write the Learning Guide 1 quiz. Here's the resources that we're going to need. And down here, again, this is just review of pre-calculus courses. So courses that you should have done prior to Calculus 12. Now this quiz is actually not all that important. I don't want you to spend a lot of time playing around with it and maybe even, like, I wouldn't be doing all these questions that are in here. It's not actually that important. It's just some basic pre-calculus stuff. So if you just do the quiz and the quiz doesn't go very well, it's okay. Like, you'll look at the answers, you'll be able to learn from looking at the answers. There's only 2 questions on the Unit 1 test that come from this quiz. So it's not actually evaluated much at all in this course. It's just pre-calculus stuff. So again, don't agonize over this, and don't even worry if your Learning Guide 1 assessment quiz goes well. It's really just the activation assignment. But anyways, I'll show you kind of what I would do if I was working through this learning guide. So you can see it's going to reference some pages in the textbook. So read pages 16 to 22. So if I am working on my calculus stuff, I would have 3 tabs open. One tab would be the learning guide. That's this. The other tab would be, I believe this is chapter 1. Yes, page 16 will be chapter 1. So I click on this. Okay, so here we are, page 16. So I've got my assignment here, read page 16, do 22 to 23, number 3 and 5. So read 16 to 22. So you would read through here. And then here we go, some questions on, this is page 22. So you can start to see here's exercise set 1-1. So page 22, 23, you're going to do number 3 and 5. Okay, so here's number 3 and number 5 would be on the next page. So then the other thing you want to know is if you're getting the answers correct. So at the 3rd tab, go back to the textbook again, I would have the worked out solutions. I like to have the learning guide first. Here's my learning guide. This is all the assignments. Here's the textbook. And then I'd want the answers open. So we're doing chapter 1 on functions. And we are on exercise 1, set 1.1. And we're looking at question 3. Exercise set 1.1, question 3. So here's the answer. And it's a good solution booklet. They're all worked out. Okay, so let's say we're working through Learning Guide 1. And again, as with all of the learning guides, you don't have to do all of these questions. And I'm not going to ask you to hand in the work that you do from the learning guide. That's your practice. Okay, so you do as many or as few questions as you feel like you need to do. And again, Learning Guide 1 is actually not important at all. So I don't want you to waste a lot of time agonizing over this, especially if there's some things you're not sure how to do. In Learning Guide 1, it's not actually calculus. It's just some pre-calculus material. So you would go through here. You do the questions that you feel like you need to do. They're in the textbook here, and you've got the answers to check your work. And of course, if you get stuck, you can email and ask for help. Okay, so at the end of the Learning Guide, it says, once you feel you're ready for the Learning Guide 1 quiz, complete the Learning Guide 1 assessment quiz on the website under Assessment Quizzes. And then email your marked Learning Guide 1 quiz to your teacher along with any questions you may have. And then please email your quiz as a PDF combined into one file and attached to an email. And you're going to see that there's actually 2 versions of this. So we've done all the questions in the learning guide, or you've done as many as you feel like you need to do, and you feel like you're ready for the quiz. So you would go back to, talk about that in a sec. We'll go to the assessment quizzes. So if you click on this, the assessment quizzes, you'll see there's version A and B for each of the quizzes. And so clicking on Learning Guide 1, version A, will bring up a quiz with some questions. Again, the test is not for marks, they're just assessment quizzes, but they're questions based on the stuff that you've done from the textbook. So you can print this off, or if you got a tablet, you can write on the PDF. But you do the quiz, and then after that you do the quiz, you'll want to mark it. So you'll go back to the website here and click on the answer key, and here's the answer key. Okay, and so I've just gone through and I've worked the answers out. So you can check your work. And sometimes when you're checking your work and you see the answer and maybe you got the answer wrong, but maybe you look at the answer key and you realize, oh, okay, that's what I did wrong. And then fine. Or maybe after you've marked it, there's still some questions you have. So you would email me the assessment quiz, the marked one after you've marked it, and let me know if you have any questions about any of the ones that you got wrong, and I'll help you. I'll help you with those. Maybe I'll just send a video back explaining how to do them, but whatever, we'll get your questions answered. And so there is a version B. You'll see there's always a version A and a version B. So version B is just more practice. Maybe you did version A and it went terrible, and so you wanted to review some more, and so you did version B, and then you send me your marked version B. Again, it doesn't matter. These quizzes aren't for marks. I'll record a mark just in my mark book as sort of a ballpark how you did, but the unit test mark is going to be the mark that counts for that unit. Or some students just do the version Bs before they get ready for the unit test. Whatever you like there. So there is a practice quiz link here. The textbook publisher came up with these. So you can see there's section, I think here we go. Yeah. So you can actually, where are we here? Here we go. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and there's each of the sections, and here's the solutions at the end. But my point is there's a lot of mistakes in here, and a lot of the questions in here aren't all that spectacular. So to be honest, I wouldn't worry too much about this link. I think there's lots of questions in the textbook, and the quizzes that I've made here in your unit test are based on the stuff that you're doing in the learning guides in the textbook. So if you want, you can work through some of these practice quizzes, but I don't think it's a necessary, or is it a great resource. So just moving on to the next. So let's say we've done Learning Guide 1, completed that. You then move on to Learning Guide 2, 3. Again, things are similar here. What you will see now, because this is the calculus course, is I will have some instructional videos in here. So you'll see some hyperlinks to some videos where I'll be teaching you how to do this material. But otherwise, it's the same. Some pages to look at in the textbook. You'll see here in your journal, these are like your set of notes. So the journal is like your set of math notes. Define what a limit is. These are things that you should be able to articulate after you've watched the video and read this. And if you made some notes as you were watching the video, you might actually have all this information in your notes already. Okay, and then you can see here's some questions to do. Again, these are suggested questions. They're not necessarily questions that I would expect you to do all of, because it'll take you a long time. The nice thing about this textbook is there's lots of practice. So I've just gone through and picked the good questions that I think you should know how to do. I don't expect you to do them all because there's a lot. Okay, like even here, see 11 to 50. That's a lot of questions. You probably don't need to do them all. Otherwise, it's going to take you a long time to get through all those questions. Okay, so it's a same kind of thing. Some video to watch, some pages to read through in the textbook with some examples, some notes that you should have, and some practice questions. And so if you're doing Learning Guide 2, 3, you'll have Chapter 2 open in the textbook and the answers to Chapter 2. Those will be your 3 tabs. And then again at the end, it'll say, look at the assessment quizzes for 2, 3. So you would go back here, do assessment quiz 2, 3 version A, and then you would mark it with the answer key. Okay, and then just finally showing you what the unit test looks like for a Learning Guide 4. So this would be the unit test. And it'll tell you that it's on Learning Guide 1 and Learning Guide 2, 3. I tell you how many questions. There'll be 9 written questions, test out of 31. And I actually articulate the topics that are going to be on the unit test. So from Learning Guide 1, you can see it's just these 2 topics. And I think you'll see it's the last 2 questions of the assessment quiz for Learning Guide 1. So it's just a simple thing on function notation and finding equation of the line. But then there'd be these topics from Learning Guide 2, 3. And then there's just some suggestions of things that you could do to get ready for the unit test. Okay. Okay, so I think that's all the topics there. So I think you should have all the information you need to work through your course. But if you do have any questions, you can always email your teacher. Wish you all the best in your online Calculus 12 course.